On an April morning scented with the aroma of blooming flowers, my life took a profound turn. My name is Jessie, and it was the morning of my 23rd birthday. Ordinarily, this day would have been marked with joyful celebrations, but instead, it started with the cries of my daughter, Gloria. Barely a year old, she awoke in the bed beside me, her little body seeking comfort and milk. I quickly rose and lifted her into my arms, feeling the familiar warmth of her tiny form which fueled my will to keep pushing forward. The softness of her skin and her baby-fresh scent were my universe. "Good morning, Gloria," I whispered, kissing her head, her soft black hair mirroring my own. But her gentle brown eyes, so clearly inherited from her father, sometimes stirred a sharp ache in my heart. Yet, her innocent smile transformed even that pain into something endearing. Thoughts of Gloria's father were painful. The moment he learned about the pregnancy, he vanished, changing his phone number, vanishing from social media, as if trying to erase his very existence from my life. I still remember the pale look on his face and the weighty silence after I announced the pregnancy, a silence that ended with him needing time and then walking away. At that time, I was a 20-year-old high school senior, brimming with dreams and aspirations, excited about studying literature and becoming a writer. My weekends were spent in cinemas with friends, and weekdays were lost in books at the library, just an ordinary girl whose life took an unexpected turn with the discovery of her pregnancy. My parents' reaction was devastatingly harsh. "Shameful, you have tarnished our family's reputation," my mother would lament repeatedly, her words as chilling as the breeze on a cold autumn night. In contrast, my sister Barbara, who was 18 and the pride of our family as the captain of the cheerleading team and a star student, reacted differently. She didn't say much, but her glances were filled with a mix of sympathy and relief, as if grateful that our roles weren't reversed. Over the past 3 years since Gloria's birth, my life has been a whirlwind of activity. I juggled attending community college by day and working a retail job at night. Sleep was a luxury as I studied and managed to earn a childcare qualification. My mother, though stern, took on the role of caring for Gloria when I couldn't. This birthday marked not just another year of life, but a milestone of survival and resilience. As Gloria giggled, unaware of the complexity of emotions surrounding her existence, I held her close, her presence a bittersweet reminder of the life I had planned and the unexpected path I now cherished. Gloria was not just a part of my life. She had become the heart of my existence, turning every challenge into a testament to my enduring love and strength. When I came home from my night shifts, I'd often find my mother cradling Gloria in her arms, looking weary but softly singing lullabies. In these tender moments, I saw the love she held for us, but her kindness was always laced with sharp criticisms. "This happened because you were reckless," she'd remark as she changed Gloria's diapers. Her hands were gentle, but her words cut deep. "Do you realize the trouble you're causing us?" she would sigh as she warmed Gloria's milk. Each sigh felt like a weight on my heart. "If only you could have been more like Barbara," she'd often mutter after tucking Gloria into bed. Those words would sink into my soul like a curse. I spent many nights in my room, silently crying while holding Gloria, listening to her soft breaths. I yearned to give her a better life, but that dream seemed trapped behind the walls of my harsh reality, with financial independence still a distant dream. One morning, after feeding Gloria, I heard my mother's tense voice call from downstairs, "Jessie, it's time for breakfast." Her voice carried a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Holding Gloria, I walked down to find my parents in the living room with solemn expressions. Instead of breakfast, there were documents laid out on the table. "Sit down," my father said in a low tone. I sat on the sofa, Gloria on my lap, feeling the tension in the air. "Jessie, we need to talk," my mother began, her hands slightly trembling. "It's about Barbara." At that moment, my heart skipped a beat. The memories of last night's commotion, Barbara's cries, the late-night discussions, the constant pacing in the hallway, flashed through my mind. I braced myself for what was coming. "Barbara is pregnant," my mother finally revealed. I felt a sudden choke in my throat. My sister, only 20, was now mirroring my past. The irony of the situation felt like a cruel twist of fate. Who is the father? I managed to whisper, the air thick with tension. It's Daniel, the son of the real estate company president, my mother said, her voice tinged with a hint of pride. Daniel Baker, the heir to one of the most successful real estate enterprises in our region, had been dating Barbara since high school. I remembered seeing them at the school's cultural festival. Daniel, tall and confident, holding Barbara proudly by the waist. They looked like the perfect couple, and at that time, I was genuinely happy for my sister's joy. But now, hearing my mother's voice laced with pride, a sharp pang of pain struck me. Barbara's situation, so similar to mine yet received so differently, highlighted the stark contrasts in how we were perceived and treated within our family. This difference in reception was not just about societal standards, but also about the harsh realities of expectations and acceptance within our own homes. That memory of seeing Barbara and Daniel together now stirred a whirlwind of complex emotions within me. Just as these thoughts swirled in my mind, my father cleared his throat, signaling the gravity of what was next. "We've made a decision," he began, his voice stern and resolute. Little did I know, this decision would pivot the course of my life and Gloria's forever. "Barbara and the baby will live here, and Daniel will join them," he declared. The statement hung in the air, awkward and heavy. Our house had exactly 4 rooms, one for my parents, one for Barbara, the room I shared with Gloria, and another that once served guests but now overflowed with old belongings and memories. "So, Jessie," my father continued, his voice laden with a weight I had not often heard, "I'm sorry, but I need you and Gloria to move out." The room seemed to spin, a loud buzzing noise muffling my senses, as if reality itself had stalled. "What?" My voice was barely a whisper. I felt Gloria's small hand clench the fabric of my sweater, her big eyes filled with a mix of confusion and fear. "A boy," my mother interjected, her tone unusually vibrant. "Our grandson, he will continue the family line. He needs the right environment to grow up in." Her eyes sparkled with a fervor that was both foreign and unsettling. As I absorbed her words, it struck me how different the reaction was when they discovered Barbara was having a boy. The cold, hard truth sliced through me. For my parents, Gloria and I were merely a burden, a stain on their reputation because I was an unmarried mother. In contrast, Barbara's situation was celebrated, not scorned, largely because she was linked to a wealthy family and the baby was a male. Gloria coughed softly, pulling me back from the brink of despair. Her innocent sound was a stark reminder. I had to shield her, to fortify her future against the harshness of our reality. "How soon do we need to leave?" I found my voice steadier than I felt. "Today," my father replied bluntly. "Daniel is moving in tomorrow." It was as if the ground had fallen away beneath me. Yet, amidst the shock, there was a stark realization, a painful yet liberating epiphany. Living under this roof, always under the scrutinous and often disdainful gaze of others, was ending. Though the future was daunting, it also marked a new beginning. I rose, lifting Gloria into my arms. Her smile was innocent, unaware of the gravity surrounding us, a smile that almost shattered my resolve. Yet, I held back my tears. I couldn't let her see my pain. That morning, I frantically packed our belongings, stuffing essentials into cardboard boxes. Tears streamed down my face, tears not just of sorrow, but also of anger, disappointment, and a peculiar sense of freedom. From behind Barbara's closed door, the sound of soft crying occasionally reached my ears. The muffled sobs carried layers of emotion. Was it guilt, regret, or simply the tumultuous hormonal shifts of pregnancy? I couldn't tell, but in that moment, my path was clear. To protect Gloria and forge a new path for us, away from the shadows of judgment and disappointment. I found myself wrestling with complex emotions toward my sister Barbara. Did she truly understand the gravity of the situation, or was her distress merely a reaction to the stresses of pregnancy? Deep inside, my love for her was entangled with a sense of betrayal. In that whirlwind of feelings, I reached out to the one person who had always stood by me, my Aunt Martha. As the phone rang, my heart thumped loudly against my chest. Aunt Martha was more than just family. She was a beacon of warmth and support. Every birthday, she knitted handmade sweaters for me, and each birthday brought a heartfelt, handwritten letter. When she answered the phone, her tone, usually gentle, was charged with anger and deep sadness. "Aunt, are they?" I barely managed to speak, my voice breaking. "Come to my house right away," she interjected sharply, her voice a mix of shock and resolution. "There's always a room ready for you and Gloria." Her words brought tears to my eyes, not of sorrow, but of relief. For the first time in what felt like forever, a sliver of hope appeared. "I'm coming to get you with my car. I'll be there in 42 minutes. Just pack what you need," she continued, her usual calmness replaced by a fierce determination. "Don't worry about the luggage. We can come back for it later. Right now, your and Gloria's safety is what matters." After hanging up, I took a deep breath and started packing with a new sense of urgency. By the evening, I had loaded the last of our belongings into her car. As we prepared to leave, my parents watched us from the doorstep, their expressions vacant, as if they were looking at strangers. My mother seemed to wrestle with something internally, her mouth opening and closing as if she wanted to speak, but ultimately, she remained silent. Perhaps there was a flicker of regret in her eyes, or maybe it was just my hopeful imagination. My father, arms crossed, maintained a stoic facade, avoiding eye contact as if he were bidding farewell to a mere acquaintance. "Goodbye," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. They only nodded, their silence echoing louder than any words could. In the back seat of Aunt Martha's car, Gloria clutched a new stuffed animal, a parting gift from my aunt who said softly, "You need new friends for a new beginning." Her kindness nearly overwhelmed me, and I fought back tears. On the drive to Aunt Martha's home, I pulled out my smartphone, my hands trembling. Opening a social media app, I poured years of pent-up frustration and emotion into a post. Like a dam breaking, I let everything flow out. Today, I was thrown out of my childhood home because my parents needed a room for their grandson. I have a 1-year-old daughter. Being an unmarried mother, I was always treated as a disgrace by my family. Every day, I was reminded of this, forced to apologize as if my very existence was a mistake. This public acknowledgement of my pain was both liberating and daunting, marking the end of one chapter and the uncertain beginning of another. As we drove away, leaving behind the only life I had known, I was uncertain about what lay ahead but comforted by the support of someone who truly cared. The day my sister revealed her pregnancy with a child from a prominent family, our lives turned upside down. Suddenly, we found ourselves being forced out of our home to make way for the future heir, a decision made hastily and without compassion by our own family. They didn't flinch at the thought of evicting their daughter and granddaughter, emphasizing the harsh realities of discrimination that still persist today. This act of rejection was especially painful because my sister was unmarried and her child, a girl, wasn't valued as the male heir. Despite the cold dismissal, this event marked the beginning of a new chapter for us. My sister Gloria and I discovered the true meaning of family, learning that kinship isn't always defined by blood, but by love and support. The moment I shared our story on social media, I experienced a wave of emotional liberation, though it was mingled with anxiety about the unforeseen consequences of my openness. The support came when we needed it most. My aunt, with her profound empathy and readiness to help, welcomed us into her home. As we arrived, the sun dipped below the horizon, and her embrace seemed to dissolve all the stresses of the day. Her house, a symbol of security and warmth, was ready for us. She had prepared everything, from a tidy room with a cozy baby crib to a dinner that filled the space with inviting aromas. That evening, as Gloria drifted to sleep, my aunt and I delved deep into conversation. We talked about everything: our parents' outdated views, the unexpected twists in Barbara's life, and the pent-up feelings I had carried. Speaking my thoughts aloud, I began to see clarity through the emotional fog. My aunt's disappointment in her brother's adherence to archaic traditions was evident, yet her affection for us remained strong. We were shocked that such gender biases still held sway in our times. The next morning, the impact of my post was undeniable. My phone buzzed with notifications, thousands of shares and comments, an outpouring of empathy, encouragement, and stories from others who faced similar challenges. Amidst this overwhelming response, I questioned whether I had done the right thing. My aunt, steadfast in her belief, reassured me that speaking out was necessary for change. Later, a call from my grandfather confirmed the ripple effects of my honesty. His voice, usually calm, was laden with intense emotions as he processed the truth of the situation. After a tense pause, he spoke gravely about the implications of what had been revealed. Through these trials, my aunt's home became more than just a shelter. It was a beacon of hope and a testament that family is where love resides, not necessarily where blood ties dictate. Her support gave us the strength to face new beginnings, no matter how challenging they might seem. When the next day arrived, my grandparents decided to visit us at my aunt's home. As soon as my grandfather walked through the door, he headed straight for Gloria. Although she was initially hesitant, she warmed up to him when he offered her a gentle smile. Holding Gloria in his lap, my grandfather spoke with a tone of deep regret. "Our family's wealth has always been about maintaining the home," he explained, revealing that the house where my parents lived was actually bought with his assistance, a fact that was new to me. As he spoke, it became clear that the spacious house and its well-kept garden were all sustained by his efforts. My grandmother, her eyes shimmering with tears, quietly added, "Perhaps our silence contributed to this situation. We've indulged them too much." In a moment that felt both heavy and transformative, my grandfather declared, "If they won't accept you," his voice firm as he glanced down at Gloria, who was now dozing with her new stuffed animal, "then the entire inheritance will go to you and Martha." This wasn't just a threat. It was a clear and decisive statement of his intentions. My aunt was visibly moved, barely managing to hold back her tears. "Martha, I trust you to manage this rightly for Jessie and Gloria," my grandfather continued, while my grandmother nodded in silent agreement. "It's a tough decision for us," my grandfather admitted softly, stroking Gloria's hair. "But sometimes, tough decisions are necessary." Following that night, calls from my parents began to flood in. Initially, I ignored them, but as they became more frequent, I could no longer avoid them. "Jessie, let's talk." My mother's voice came through, sounding more distressed than I'd ever heard. "There's been a misunderstanding. We're family after all." The desperation in her tone was palpable, likely spurred by the realization that my grandfather's decision could significantly affect their lifestyle. "You just want the inheritance, don't you?" I confronted her, and the silence that followed confirmed the accuracy of my accusation. I could hear her breathing become unsteady. "Why would you say that?" she faltered. "Because it's true," I replied calmly. "When you threw me and Gloria out, you showed no remorse." Around the same time, I received a long message from my sister, Melissa. "Jessie, I'm sorry. I didn't know anything. Our parents told me you wanted to leave on your own." Holding my smartphone, I felt it tremble in my hand. While some of Melissa's words might have been true, her indifference still stung. I took a deep breath and replied, "Your son isn't to blame, but neither were Gloria and I, yet you just watched in silence." There was no response from Melissa after that. Just then, Gloria climbed into my lap and touched my cheek, pulling me back to the present with her comforting warmth. A week later, an unexpected twist occurred. Barbara suddenly moved out of our parents' house. Early one morning, a friend of my mother's from the neighborhood brought us the news. A large car had parked in front of the house, signaling yet another shift in our ongoing family drama. When Barbara decided to leave, it marked a significant change in our ongoing family saga. Her belongings were quickly packed into a large car under the watchful eye of Daniel's father, who was there to support her move. Our parents, bewildered and frustrated, tried to intervene but to no avail. Barbara called me later that day, her voice carrying a clarity and determination I hadn't heard in a long time. "I've decided to live with Daniel," she declared. "What our parents are doing is wrong. I can't be a part of it anymore." Her words sparked a mix of emotions in me. It was a brave decision, undoubtedly requiring a lot of courage. However, I couldn't help but wonder why she hadn't realized this sooner or spoken up when Gloria and I were being forced out. "Barbara," I managed to say, my voice faltering slightly, "why now?" "Jessie, I've been doing a lot of thinking," she replied, her voice breaking as she began to sob. "Since that day, I've had sleepless nights. Daniel's parents have accepted us. They don't care whether it's a boy or a girl. That's how it should be." A month later, my grandparents made good on their promise. They officially revised their will, removing my parents from it and transferring the inheritance rights to Aunt Martha and me. My father discovered this change and called me furious. "What have you done?" he demanded, his voice sharp and accusing. "Are you planning to betray your family? Who is it that drove out me and Gloria?" I responded calmly, yet firmly. Before I could continue, he hung up. In the months that followed, I focused on building a new life. I secured a job as a preschool teacher, and Gloria started attending the daycare managed by my aunt. Balancing work and childcare was challenging, but I no longer felt the crushing loneliness that had once overwhelmed me. "Good morning, Ms. Jessie." The children would greet me each day, their voices filled with cheer. Gloria, among them, sometimes struggled to distinguish between teacher and mom, but she soon cleverly used both terms interchangeably. My work was fulfilling, and my colleagues were incredibly supportive. Many had seen my social media posts. Their reactions were positive, with several expressing admiration for my courage. "It was brave of you to speak up," a veteran childcare worker remarked one day. "That courage can support someone else." Indeed, my post had inspired messages from others in similar situations, including young mothers who had also been driven out of their homes. I started communicating with them, offering advice and sharing experiences, hoping my story might serve as a guide for others. Back at my aunt's house, Gloria quickly adapted to her new surroundings. She loved playing in the small garden, and her innocent smile reassured me daily that we were on the right path. "Your smile is my greatest treasure," I would whisper to her, watching her grow up surrounded by love and support in a home where she was truly valued. Though we hadn't been in contact with my parents, I exchanged messages with Barbara from time to time. She was trying hard to rebuild her life. While I hadn't fully forgiven her, she had acknowledged her mistakes and apologized. As Gloria grew older, I planned to share these stories with her, emphasizing the intrinsic value she held, irrespective of her gender. "You are irreplaceable," I would tell her. Now, we were walking a new path, one not devoid of challenges, but at least filled with genuine family love and support.